Hello and welcome to our Soften into Winter, wow that's hard to say, practice and workshop for today, for the month I should say. So as these workshops usually go, we're going to have a little bit of a chat today about some of the qualities of winter, and then we're going to do some beautiful yin yoga poses at the end. So just to make sure that you are prepared, if you can grab your yoga mat if you do have one, otherwise just make sure you're on a nice comfortable surface. If you've got yoga props at home like a bolster or some blocks, please grab those. Otherwise we can improvise with a couple of big cushions or bed pillows, so whatever you've got handy. So make sure you gather those now to support you as we move into the yin poses a little bit later on. So winter, I actually really enjoy winter. I think maybe autumn is my favorite season, but I enjoy winter, and that might be because I don't tend to enjoy too much that feeling of being overheated, that pitta energy in Ayurveda, but we're all so different. But for me, I do quite like the season of winter. And I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why in our workshop today. So winter, I write a lot about this in my book as well, which will be out this year, but all of the seasons have their own unique qualities. And so it really is of most benefit to us if we can follow along as best that we can with whatever the current season is. And so in regards to winter, it really is a time to slow down, to be a little bit more introspective, to move a little bit slower, and I guess sort of embody a little bit more of that feminine energy. And so if you think about like a bear, for example, the animal, they hibernate, and they use that time of hibernation during winter to really rejuvenate and replenish. And so although we don't have to go to those extremes, that's a really good analogy of how we can support ourselves during this time of year. So in regards to Ayurveda that I just touched on, so we have Pitta, which is that fire energy. We have Kapha, and Kapha is really the element of winter. So it's really that slow, sort of dense, more dense energy. So you can think about that as well. In regards to, while we're on the topic of Ayurveda, there's a lot of beautiful practices and I guess advice that they pass on from Ayurveda as to how you can support yourself through each season. And so in regards to winter, you want to think about, the outside environment is cold. Sometimes it can be damp and windy as well. And so to counterbalance that, so the system or the science of Ayurveda is all about creating and cultivating balance. So if you think about, we have cold in the external environment. So in our internal environment, we want to create warmth and heat, obviously not too much. But if you think about consuming warming herbs, so you're looking at ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, that kind of thing. You could brew up like a nice chai tea that's got nutmeg in it as well, plus all the other herbs. So that's a really nice way that you could nurture yourself. In terms of food, same reason, because the external environment is cool, we want to eat warm, nourishing foods. So lots of cooked foods, that more heavy food, rather than eating salads or smoothies or that kind of thing, which would be more suited to the summer environment. So you want to think about warm, dense, cooked foods. So you can think about stews, soups. You want to eat lots of root vegetables. So you can think of potatoes and turnips and parsnips, any vegetable that's rooted and grows beneath the surface of the soil. Really good for us in winter. Something I wanted to touch on is our digestion. So digestion, the Sanskrit word for it is Agni, and the Agni is that digestive fire. And so during these winter months, stoking that Agni, that digestive fire, is really important, because things can move a little bit slower during the winter time. And so eating the dense foods, like in some times of the year, might not be the best thing to be able to stoke that Agni, but during this time it is. So, but again, we're all so different, so it's really important for you to make sure that you eat the foods that feel good in your body. And so sometimes that really does take a lot of trial and error. So just see how you feel after you eat each kind of different food, each meal. It'll give you feedback as to what feels good in your body. When we're looking at our yoga practices, so because it's a slow, feminine, intuitive, kind of introspective time, things like yin yoga and meditation and breathwork practices are really nice, because they're already embodying those qualities. So we're going to do some yin yoga today. But you can also, to counter that, because sometimes in winter it's a little bit more challenging to have that motivation to get up and get going and get moving. So you might feel like you've become a little bit stagnant, you're not moving too much. Maybe you're doing lots and lots of slow practices and you feel like you need a bit of that perk up energy. You could do the opposite of that and do like a really warming practice, like a vinyasa, flowing, quickly moving practice. You could do like the breath of fire. You can have a look at that online. That's not really a beginner's practice. So if you feel like you are a beginner to breath work, maybe just try some more gentle breathwork styles. You want to make sure, for the reason that I just said, that sometimes it can be hard to get going, that you are still doing some kind of mindful movement, because that kapha energy that I spoke about earlier can be a little bit more challenging to get going. We'll get stuck, we'll get stagnant, we might start to get stiff and sore in our body, and the energy is not flowing quite so well. So you need to just make sure that you are still doing some kind of mindful movement that feels good for you in your body at that time. Some other things that you can do, so making sure that, so it's not really applicable to everyone, but sometimes, during the winter months, there's a lot more darkness, a lot more cool energy and cool weather. Sometimes that's not the most conducive to feeling supportive for us. So sometimes some people quite like that energy and some people find it a little bit more challenging. And so if that is the case for you, just making sure that you're still doing things that bring you joy and happiness and make you feel uplifted, so that you don't potentially fall into that feeling of, maybe a little bit of sadness or lack of inspiration or motivation during the winter months. So just, tuning into whatever feels good for you, whatever makes you feel happiness and joy, and making sure that you prioritize time to do that. Getting some sunlight. So the intensity and the harshness of the sun is lessened during the winter months, and so it's a lot easier to go out into the sun without having to worry about exposing yourself too much. Whereas in the Summertime, you know, the sun is a lot more intense and you really only need just a few minutes to get an adequate amount of sunlight and vitamin D, whereas in the winter time we need more because the sun is less intense. And so in some ways that's a good thing, because that means we can go outside, spend time in nature, spend a bit more time maybe than we normally would, and be able to take in the fresh air and take in the sunlight and absorb that beautiful vitamin D that we need for our health. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is during the cold months, it is usually more common for the common cold and the common flu to be about, just because of the change of the seasons. And sometimes people can experience a bit of a seasonal detox from the inside out. So you can help to support yourself during those times with immune herbs. So you could probably do a little bit more research into that if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, see a naturopath and they can prescribe some specific herbs for you that can help to support your immune system during that time. You could even make a herbal tea out of some immune herbs as well. And there's also some essential oils that can help you with that as well. Just something to consider if you feel like that is applicable to you. Getting a little bit more sleep too, because the nights are longer and the days are shorter. It's a nice opportunity for you just to maybe sleep in a little bit, get a little bit more sleep than what you would normally allow yourself to, just to promote that relaxation and that rejuvenation as well. Some other things you might like to consider that I touched on before about just keeping our mood elevated through the winter months is just whatever is going to help you to feel uplifted, and you know, maybe incorporating a few extra self-care practices. So whatever that looks like for you, you know, maybe you like to work with affirmations, maybe you like to do some journaling, you know, have incorporating a gratitude practice, so really acknowledging the things that you are grateful for. It might be more on the, you know, along the lines of massages. So you can either do a self massage, which is known as Abhyanga in Ayurveda, or going to see a massage therapist or a facial, you know, whatever just helps you to feel like you're nourishing yourself. That also includes, you know, eating the right foods, mindful movement, being aware of your mindset, all the whole, you know, every piece of the puzzle. So the last thing I wanted to touch on is what we're going to incorporate in our yin yoga practice in a few minutes. The element of winter is water. And so for that reason, today we are going to focus on the kidney and the bladder meridians for our yin yoga practice. So the kidney meridians run through the insides of our legs, and the bladder meridian runs through the back of our body, so all the way up over the crown of the head and then pulls in behind the eye, and that is the largest meridian in our body. So for our practice today, we are going to do a lot of forward bends, so that's why we're going to need those props, so we have something to land on, and a little bit of inner hip opening as well. So let's get ready for our yin yoga practice now. So if there's anything else you need to do to get organized, get set up, if you would like to maybe pop some nice relaxing music in the background, you're more than welcome to. If you want to grab any essential oils, an eye pillow, a blanket, whatever feels comfortable for you, please take the time now to do that. And then Once you're ready to go, let's start in a comfortable seated position. I'm sitting up on my bolster, so you might choose to sit up on a cushion or a bolster if you've got that at home as well. And you can return to this practice at any time as well, especially throughout these winter months. So eyes are closed. Once you've found your comfortable seated position, so here you just want to anchor those sitting bones down towards the earth. As we sit up nice and tall through the spine, shoulders are soft, belly is soft, soften your jaw. Starting to land in your body. Starting to move your awareness around your body to observe how you're feeling in your body. If you do come across any points of tension, any points of pain, can you invite your breath into those spaces? And just allow the pain, the tension, or any discomfort to begin to dissolve. Turning your awareness now to your emotional body. Just acknowledging your emotions here. How are you feeling? Moving your awareness now to the breath. Feeling the breath traveling through your body. Feel the breath moving in and out of your nostrils. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, your entire rib cage with the breath. Every time that you inhale, you're drawing in prana, life force energy. Every time that you exhale, just release, let go and shed anything that you need to. It might be emotions, stagnant energy, whatever comes for you, let it go with the exhale. Keep breathing deeper and deeper. Let's do another 3 big breaths working in this way. And then we're going to do 3 cleansing breaths. Take a big inhale through the nose. Gently part the lips and exhale audibly through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. One more round with your breath. let go of the breath work now. Just return to the natural breath. Notice any shifts in your body, your breath, your nervous system. And just set the intention now of really dropping into yourself, of nourishing yourself throughout this practice. As we inhale, let's start to gently blink open the eyes, coming back. Okay, let's just come over onto hands and knees. We'll just do a brief little warm up before we come into our yin poses. Knees under hips, hands just forward of the shoulders. Let's just sway the hips from side to side. So you can move as much or as little as you like, just getting a little bit more space and movement and flow into the hips. You might even draw some little circles with the hips. Coming back to center now. As we inhale, let's start to drop through the belly, lift up through the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, tuck the chin, rounding through your spine. Let's do that again. Inhale, belly drops, heart lifts. Exhale, rounding the spine. Let's do 3 more rounds here together. So you just flow now at your pace. You're synchronizing the movement with the breath. Just getting a little bit of heat and flow and energy into the spine, into the body. Inhale, let's come back to center. As we exhale, let's drop back into Balasana, child's pose. So you want to drop the knees wide, toes are touching, hips to heels. Let's fold forward for 5 big breaths. So here in your child's pose, just start to soften everything off. Just allow yourself to ground. Soften the shoulders, just offer your heart down to the mat with the exhale. Breathing deeply down into the belly, out into the back and side ribs. And just noticing your lower back and your hips softening and opening. One more breath here together. As we inhale, let's roll it up through the spine. Coming over onto hands and knees. And then exhale, step the right foot forward, left knee stays grounded. So if you've got sensitive knees, just roll your mat over or put a cushion under that back knee if that feels good for you. So you want to walk that right foot out a little bit wider so you've got some space to pop both hands to the inside of the front foot. We're not holding this one for the full 5 minutes, but do take some time now to set yourself up. So here on the palms of the hands, that might be more than enough for you. If you feel like you can explore going deeper, you might grab one of your props, whatever you're using there, and maybe come partway down. You might be able to come all the way down onto the forearms, but this is very strong. So just work within your range, within your practice today. Bearing in mind we're staying here for the next few breaths. And once you're there, let's close the eyes down. Find where you want to be. And then once you're there, we're going to stay nice and still for the next few breaths. So just making sure that your upper body stays soft here. As you bring your awareness down to the inner hips, so you can feel this is very strong for those inner hips. Getting straight into the hip space. You can visualize here that we're starting to stimulate that kidney meridian. Work with the breath here. Big, deep inhale, long, smooth exhale. Can you soften a little bit more? Can you invite those hips to open a little bit more? Just a few more big, deep breaths. One more breath here together. Using your next inhale, let's slowly roll on up through the spine. Just move your weight backwards a little bit. Swing the right leg around, maybe have a bit of a stretch out. Let that energy flow through once again. And then let's come straight on over to the other side now. So you're stepping your left foot forward, right knee grounded. Pad the back knee up if you need to. Walk the left foot out wide enough so you can pop your hands to the inside of that front foot. So this side might feel different than the other. So on this side you might like to stay on the palms of the hands. Maybe this side feels a little bit more open and you can come down a little further. So just tune in. Notice how this side feels for you. Fidget around as much as you need to, and then once you're there, let's close the eyes down. We're going to stay nice and still. So let's bring our awareness down to the inner hip space. How does it feel on this side? It's common to experience a difference between left and right side, so just notice how it feels for you. Just directing your breath, directing your awareness down to the hips. Inviting them to open up. So we do tend to hold so much tension, so much emotion in the hip space. You might even start to feel that as we hold here. So just allow it to happen, allow it to flow through you. Letting it all go on the exhale. Just stay present here, stay connected to your breath for the next few big breaths before we transition out of the pose. And spend another 3 breaths here. On your next inhale, slowly roll on up through the spine, coming back. Shift your weight backwards, swing that leg around, have a little stretch out behind you. How are those hips feeling? Now, before we move on to the next pose, let's just come into a seated position. Close the eyes down. Let's take a moment to integrate. So observe the hips, observe the space, the energy that you've cultivated. Allow that beautiful prana, life force energy to flow through your system. One more breath. As we inhale, let's gently blink open the eyes, coming back. Okay, so you will need your prop for this one. So I'll show you a few different ways to set up. We're coming into a forward bend. So you want your legs out long in front of you. Just make sure you're up on those sitting bones. Now, option one is if you've got a bolster there or you've got a couple of your big cushions, you can pop them over the front of your legs, and if you've got a bolster like me, you can flip it on over to the other side. Otherwise, pile up as many cushions or as many blocks if you've got yoga blocks there. So it's high enough so that when you fold forward, you've got somewhere for your third eye to land. So that's one option there. Another nice option is to bring whatever prop you're using, so your big cushion or your bolster, under the knees. So the knees are bent, you're still up high on the sitting bones. And then you fold forward from here. So depending on how your hamstrings and your lower back is feeling today, you might be able to fold all the way forward. You don't want it to feel strained though, so if it feels strained, grab some more props. Grab another cushion, grab 2 or 3 cushions if you need to. Pile them up enough so that when you fold forward, your third eye's got somewhere to land and it feels comfortable. So maybe try a few different options out, see what feels most supportive for you. Wriggle around as much as you need to until you find the position, and then once we're there, we're going to close the eyes down and resolve to remain still. So here in this beautiful forward bend, there's a few things going on here. So in terms of the meridians, those energy lines, we're focusing now on the bladder meridian, which is one of our themes for the class. So if you think about the bladder meridian running through the entire length of your back body, so just visualize and have the intention of this meridian being re-energized, bladder meridian, and also your bladder organ as well. Physically, you can feel here that we're opening up through the hamstrings and through your lower back, as I touched on. So you might just want to allow yourself to soften here, particularly with the exhale. So our body can feel different from day to day. So just observe how today your hamstrings and your lower back are feeling. And you can work with that exhale to help you to soften organically, to go a little bit deeper. Making sure the belly is still soft so you can breathe down into the belly. Soften the shoulders. Allow everything to soften and let go with the breath. So these forward bending poses are nice and calming and cooling for our system, but they're also a really great opportunity for introspection. So as we literally fold forward in on ourselves here, take a moment to pause. Take a moment to go within and notice how you're really feeling today without judging. Just stay present here in your own energy as you take that time now for introspection. Let's spend another 5 big breaths here, inhaling through the nose, exhaling either through the nose or through the mouth. Using your next inhale very slowly, let's lift the head, roll on up to a seat. Move yourself into a comfortable seated position, eyes closed. Let's take a moment to pause, to breathe, to integrate. Just observe. Just absorb any effects from the last pose. One more breath here. As we inhale, just gently blinking open the eyes, coming back. Now from here, let's extend out one leg and then bring the opposite foot into the inner thigh. Just adjust your weight on your sitting bones so that you're up nice and high. As we inhale, just sit up tall, lengthen through the spine, turn to face the bent knee. And then as we exhale, we're sliding that hand down the extended leg to the degree that serves you. Now, let me show you a few different options. So the traditional version of this pose is where we draw the arm across the ear. But because we're holding for a little while, that might be a little bit too strong. So you might choose to bring the hand to the back of your neck. You might choose to wrap the arm around your lower back. So see what works for you. Once you're set up, let's close the eyes down. We're going to stay nice and still here. We're not holding this one for the full 5 minutes, but do make sure you're feeling comfortable enough. So here again, we're working into the inner seam of that extended leg. So getting back into the kidney meridian. We've got a beautiful length through the hamstring, through the side body as well. And if you let your head hang a little bit heavy here, you'll get a nice release through the side of your neck as well. And just notice what your mind is doing here. If you find your mind starting to wander, just gently draw it back and anchor your awareness back to the breath. Can you soften a little bit more for the final few breaths? One more breath here together. As we inhale, let's slowly roll on up through the spine, coming back. Let's just take a brief pause in the center, coming into your favorite seated position. Just take a moment to notice and absorb the effects from that last pose. One more breath. As we inhale, let's gently blink open the eyes, coming back. Changing sides, so just making sure you're over on the opposite side. Sitting up nice and tall on those sit bones. Inhale to lengthen the spine, turn to face the bent knee. And then as we exhale, sliding that hand down the leg to the degree that serves you on this side. Now let's find where we want to be with that top arm. So option 1 is here. Option 2, to the back of your neck with that hand, or you could wrap that arm around the lower back. So see what feels comfortable on this side. It is okay to take a different option on this side than what you did on the first. So just tune in, see what feels good for you on this side. Once you're there, let's close our eyes down. We're going to stay nice and still here again. So here again, as we're doing the same pose but on the different side, just tune in to see how it feels for you. That's one of the many beautiful qualities and opportunities that we can have here, because we're moving nice and slowly and we're nice and introspective during a yin yoga practice. So you can really start to tune in and notice what slight imbalances you might have between left and right sides, and we all have them. So tune in now. How does your hamstring feel on this side? How does your lower back and the side body feel? Just soften your head a little bit if you want that beautiful stretch through your neck. Just allowing yourself to naturally soften and go deeper with every breath. Let's spend another 5 big breaths here. As we inhale, let's slowly roll on up through the spine, coming back. Come into your favorite seated position. Eyes are still closed. And let's just take a few moments to pause. How are you feeling after that last pose? One more breath. As we inhale, let's gently blink open the eyes, coming back. All right, so for this next pose, we're coming to lay down onto our back. Now we're coming into Supta Baddha Konasana, which is reclining butterfly. It's up to you. You can either lay all the way flat onto your mat. If you want some heart opening, which is sort of the opposite energy of that forward bend that we were doing before, but it is a nice way to counterbalance the energy as well. So tune in and see what you want today. If you want some heart opening, you're going to need your prop. So your bolster or your cushions. And you can come to lay down onto your prop, or you can come to lay flat on your back, whatever works for you today. And then we've got soles of the feet together, knees wide, reclining butterfly. Now you can have your arms beside you. You might like to place your hands on your belly. You might stretch the arms overhead. So just see what feels good for you. Just wriggle around as much as you need to. Once you're there, let's close the eyes down, resolving to stay nice and still. And here, just allow the back of your body to soften down into the earth. The back of the body is heavy. The front of the body is light and open and receptive. So here again, we're working into those hips. We've had a lot of hip opening in our class today. So tune into the hips. So you might start to feel like they're opening a little bit more after quite a number of hip opening poses. If you can feel any tension in the hip space in that groin area, just allow it to soften now. Allow those knees to fall wider with the exhale. If you have chosen the heart opening variation, just tune into that as well. Feel that energy of having a nice open heart. Just feeling the energy moving in and out freely from the heart space. And just stay present here for the next few breaths in your own energy. Let's spend another 5 or 6 big deep breaths here together. Breathing deeply through the nose all the way down into the belly, down into the hips. Starting to deepen the breath as we prepare to transition out of the pose. If you do have your arms long, let's just bring them back to center now. Bringing the hands to the outsides of the thighs, drawing the knees towards each other. Just leading with the heart, using the inhale, rolling on up. If you did have your prop there, let's just pop it over to the side for now and come to lay back down onto our mat. And just taking a moment to, again, notice and absorb the effects from that last pose. Feeling the hip opening, feeling the energy in the hips, feeling the heart opening if you took that variation. One more breath here. Now from here we are going to float our right leg up towards the sky. Just grab a hold of the back of your right thigh. So you can gently press your leg and the palms of your hands in towards each other. And then the left leg could be bent, or you can stretch it out long in front of you. Just gently close the eyes down, soften the shoulder blades so they're flat against the mat. And here again, we're starting to work into the hamstring on that right leg. Stimulating the bladder meridian here again through the back of the right leg. You can have that knee bent as much as you need to, just to feel comfortable and supported here. After we've been here for a little while, maybe a couple of breaths, you might start to feel some movement, like a bit of a vibration through the right leg. So you can just surrender to that, let that energy flow through the right leg. As we come more towards the end of the class, just start to really draw your awareness deeper and deeper within. Just a few more breaths here before we change sides. Using your next inhale, let's gently, gently release. Take a moment to pause in the center. And then when you feel ready, you can change sides, floating that left leg up this time. Grab a hold of the back of the left leg, wherever feels comfortable. Remember, you can have that knee bent if you need to. Right leg could either be bent or you can stretch it out nice and long. Soften the shoulders so they're flat against your mat. And then once you're all set up, let's close the eyes down. Let's see how it feels for you on this side. Feeling the length through the back of the left leg, feeling the energy through this space. Start to feel that movement, that vibration through the left leg. Just a couple more breaths here before we move on out of the pose. When you feel ready, start to gently release, come back to center. Just come back into any position that feels comfortable for you. Take a moment to rest here, just integrating. Once you feel ready, we'll draw the knees into the chest and just start to roll around here in one direction, feeling that beautiful massage for the lower back. And then coming around in the other direction.